Alright everyone, it's your boy K Natsuki here, back at it again after, gosh, I don't even know how long. Pretty much, I think it might be a day or a couple hours. Anywho, sorry I wasn't on in a while, but this is a new what if part, and this is a new part of, or the third part of what if Deku was a half kwami. As I've been nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging and nagging at myself for one little thing that even I think might be outrageous, but the inner shipper in me says, fuck it. If you have no idea what I'm saying, I'm thinking of making Beerus. Yes, Beerus, the god of destruction, a girl. As I will leave this all to fate. Hold on. Alright everyone, I'm back with a coin. None much, just a penny. But this very penny flip will determine whether or not Beerus is a girl in this what if. And so yeah. I'ma flip the coin. Heads, Beerus is a girl. Tails, Beerus is not a girl. Lady Fate, take the wheel. Heads. I ain't even joking. Like, seriously, I ain't even joking. It's heads. You all heard the penny flip, did you not? Maybe not. But fate has decided. Beerus will be a female and will be a woman in this series. It was completely unexpected at all chances, but hey. Lady Fate has taken the wheel, and I can't change it. I'm gonna do best out of 3, best out of 5, none. I asked you guys, and I haven't gotten any responses. So, I let fate take the wheel. So yeah, hold on. This is what Beerus is gonna look like in this what if. It was unexpected on my part, but yeesh. You let fate take the wheel and you see what happens. You get unexpected results. And so, I've come to the conclusion that it will not be a harem ship, but it will be a... God, may the gods strike me dead for this if it is a sin. Deku. It is a Deku ship. Oh God. I ain't dead, so I don't think it's a shipping this is a sin. Thank God. So yeah. Where we last left off was, well, I have to change it, of course. The female, I'm the goddess of destruction. Beerus would be, yes, I'm not changing the name. The goddess of destruction, Beerus, would be right there. Her staring at, well, Deku, as she would, and as she would make the first move, she would charge at Deku. He would dodge. As this would be going on each sides for a couple of minutes, as she would then think, as she would grab Deku's arm and by the arm and say, Hakai. Now, if y'all are thinking, this is an instant kill, allow me to explain something that you probably do not know. Beerus' attack, it only works for anything that is weaker than him. Meaning, if the being isn't of equal power to him, if the being is of equal power to him, his Hakai attack will do crap. Basically, it will fail. So yeah, as female Beerus would say, Hakai, but nothing would happen. As she would release some ki blast, as the two would basically begin flying and fighting at the same time. She would release some ki blasts as Deku would release some destructive fireballs. Basically, they're black with just green tint, and her attacks are purple with a pinkish purple tint. Now eventually they'd be going all out 100%. No, because that'd destroy the Earth. 50%, as the two are fighting in the skies, basically destroying everything around them that is not the Earth. As suddenly moons begin to, as suddenly anything within 1,000 miles of them would be destroyed. No, anything within 10,000 miles of them, by the way, they're 10,005 miles away from the Earth, so anything within 10,000 miles of them would be destroyed. As the two are battling in the skies, each attack matches blow for blow, as Beerus goes to 100% of power, and as Beerus goes to 100% of power and flies even farther from the Earth, as Deku goes to 100% of his power, as suddenly his body begins glowing like this, except imagine all of the red glow green. Okay? Basically, his body begins growing like this, as this is basically the embodiment of and he's basically absorbing destructive energy as we speak. He's just consuming it all. He's leaking out destructive energy and just consuming it, creating an endless fuel source for him. And the aura disappears, and behind is this. As Deku's eyes are basically, imagine Deku's eyes jade green, and the blue on the neck thing jade green as well. And in some of his fur there is also jade, just tiny hints of jade green. As Deku is now 100% of his power. As then the fighting gets serious. Seriously. It's basically like they each are matching the power of about 100 MUI Gokus at once. And they're not even using ki attacks anymore, because their attacks just match. They're only using martial arts. Until a full day passes. Hold on. Alright, the verdict is in, even though I let Lady Fate choose for me. Yes. Sorry, the ship is not a harem. Disappointed with me on that. So let me just edit that just a tiny bit. Sorry, shaking a bit. It's something that happens. Autism. I have ADHD and I shake a lot and it makes me hard to type sometimes, so back to the what if. Hold on. As pretty much a full 24 hours would pass, as they would both be at their limits, but still fighting, as Deku would basically harness all of his attack into, and all of his energy into one attack, as Beerus would do the same. As, you know how Beerus basically creates that one sun attack and then throws it at the earth, and then Goku dispels it, or basically I think absorbs all the energy from it. Pretty much, she creates a much bigger purple, like dark, light, and all types of purple colored sun, as Deku creates a ginormous, well, no, he creates a sort of, you know how basically it's like an Indra's arrow Rasengan, an Ashura's Rasengan type of deal, as Beerus creates a ginormous orb-like weapon, as Deku creates a ginormous orb-like attack, as Deku creates a ginormous ginormous jade destructive lightning-like spear attack, as he calls it his his ultimate destruction spear, and Beerus calls her attack the final destruction bomb, as the two attacks basically collide. And, well, it's pretty much a stalemate as the universe itself begins shaking, and we go to the Omni King's perspective, and we go to Zeno's perspective, as he can feel all the universes. I'm pretty sure there's 18. Yeah, he can feel all of them. 18 meaning all the destroyed ones as well. And all of the, I think, erased ones as well, just shaking. He could feel the raw power just shaking violently and infinitely. As then he would see, hold on. Sorry. He would see a ginormous. No. He would see a ginormous signal of destructive energy coming from Universe 14. Which Universe 14 was not necessarily destroyed, more such just abandoned. Because, well, to be honest, it was a universe where no strong people were ever destined to be born. As the reason for Deku existing is basically him being like this is an error in the code of existence. However, Zeno doesn't really care, as Hey, fun cat god, lazy cat. Hey, we have a new destroyer. I guess Universe 14's back in action. As he then says, it looks like Universe 14 actually has a new destroyer, and Beerus is fighting them. Look, as he would pretty much create a 3D hologram right above his throne, as all the other gods of destruction and the Supreme Kais and the angels and Daishinkan would all just be watching this battle unfold, as they would say, hey, no. And as the gods of destruction would begin whispering, no way, no way, no way, that cannot be. But did you see that jade energy, though? As even Zeno is confused on why they're whispering like that, and why everyone's confused. As they would then explain how destructive ki, like all things, it has to have a source, as the source of all existence is Zeno. The source of all life is, well, basically, everything has to have a source. The source of water, the source of life, the source of time, everything. A starting point, basically. As Plague would have been known as the core of destruction. Basically, the center of it all. The progenitor of destruction. And all destruction ki comes from him. As when it is used by mere mortals and not the kwami of destruction, it takes the shape of purple energy, which basically makes them gods. Not gonna lie, they basically become gods. As Zeno is confused as all hell, as he then thinks, so basically, there's a god of destruction that is stronger than Beerus, as then they would say, no, not quite. You see, the core of destruction, basically, it is only as strong as it is shaped to be. And well, the core of destruction itself is basically, it can only be, as I just said, it can only be as strong as it is shaped to be. And the strongest god of destruction is Beerus. So right now, the core is only as strong as Beerus. So yeah, pretty much equals. Unless, as then, we go back to Universe 14, or the My Hero Academia universe, as we would hear a ginormous kaboom. As Deku would have he would have overexerted himself and put some of his, he basically would have put a bit more power than he had at that time into the attack, which right now both attacks were at stalemate. As what he did was pretty much destroy just a moon, and he would have absorbed all of the energy from a moon, which he would instantly have destroyed, as it's like one of Saturn's small moons. as it would have been destroyed in a mere instant. As then, Deku would be harnessing all of this the destructive energy which he just created, as he would put it into his final destruction spear attack, and it would pierce the final destruction bomb, and Beerus' final destruction bomb, as suddenly the entire galaxy would light up with a jade electricity, as this was a symbol that Deku had won, as the two gods and the two beings would basically float down to the mortal plane and to the earth, which basically they were fighting in a completely other dimension where time itself was irrelevant. So basically, it was like they never destroyed a single thing, but in the alternate dimension, everything is just. It was once about the size of a entire universe, and now it's just an empty black void. So yeah, as the two would return back to the actual universe, and they would say, and basically they would both land on the ground, and as Beerus and Deku would be both huffing and puffing, like actually exhausted, as they'd be like, as Beerus would say, "How is that even possible?" As Deku would then explain how he was once a normal mortal who basically basically fused with a spiritual being called a kwami. As then Beerus would get a little nervous as she would say, "Kwami, huh? What was this kwami's name?" As there was many different types of kwamis, and she just thought maybe this kid has like a cat quirk or something, as she was praying with all of her heart that it was not, well, Plague, as he'd then say his name is Plague, as she would then scream, and as she would, you know how there's this one scene where Beerus basically basically Whis is making stir fry, and Beerus basically he's sitting down on a chair as the staff begins glowing, as he says Whis is busy now, call him back later, and it's the Omni King, and he just is absolutely terrified and goes, "Ah, we thank you, noble person, with all of our pleases and our thank yous. Oh Lord, am I quoting Goku?" Basically, that is the type of fear she would be having right now, as she would say, as she would basically bow down and say, "I'm sorry for showing such insolence," as Deku would basically go back into this form, as he would say, "What do you mean, insolence?" As she would say, "Hey, I should have known that you were as strong as me. Or maybe I should have known that you were at least 1% stronger than me. I'm sorry, my lord." As Deku would be absolutely confused, as she would say the whole thing that the gods of destruction and would have said to Zeno. As he would say, "Ah, so what exactly would happen if the other gods knew that you fought me, and if the other gods of destruction knew you fought me, as she would have told him everything about the gods of destruction and destruction key and all that. As she would say, well, I might end up erased, killed, or destroyed. Depends on who gets angry, really. As Deku right now is basically like the embodiment of destruction itself. It can only be as powerful as the strongest one who has shaped it to be the strongest. As she would then say, and as he would then say, don't worry, I'll vouch for you. As Beerus would look up at Deku and say, really? As he'd say, of course. Now, you all might be thinking, what's his vouch gonna do? Well, actually, a lot. As right now, Deku is the literal embodiment of destruction itself. Without him, the gods of destruction would basically just become regular mortals who I'm pretty sure would have lived so long they would turn to dust. Without him, there would be no destruction, and all of existence would overflow. And, as I explained, he's pretty much fully immortal. Not even Zeno can erase him. He cannot be replaced, he's just there. An immortal, unkillable, unstoppable deity, basically. So, you have to listen to him. Or else he's just gonna bug you for all of eternity. As that is why him vouching for her would mean so much. As basically time would stop. As Whis would be manipulating time with his staff for a meeting. As he would be right there and say, hey, Lord Beerus, we have to go for the Omni King has called for both, and for all three of us, and for the two of us, as he would then say, oh, scratch that, the three of us, as we will have to take Izuku here with us. As she would then, and as he would then say, okay, and as Deku would say, okay, and in less than a mere instant, they would be at the Omni King's palace. As the Omni King would basically, and Zeno would basically just be sitting on his throne with future him, as he would basically just look at Deku and think, so you are the embodiment of destruction. As he would basically smile and say, well, it's nice knowing that it's nice knowing that there's a new immortal in town. As Zeno would then say, anyways, though, could you turn into your strongest form? As Deku would say, sure. As the black and jade aura would surround him again, and he would turn back into this form with everything I mentioned earlier. As they would, as pretty much, he would say, Zeno would say, good, you see, now Good. Now we can begin the meeting. As the gods of destruction would all be bowing at both Zeno and Deku, as he's pretty much a god a god of gods, about the same status as Zeno, pretty much. As pretty much all the gods of destruction would all just say, hey, we have to erase Beerus, for she has made the ultimate wrong of attacking attacking the core. As they all be fighting, as the Omni King would eventually come to the rule that Beerus was in the wrong. As just as Zeno was about to erase Beerus, Deku would then chime in and say, hold on, I vouch for her. As then the gods of destruction would instantly shut up. And Zeno would then say, oh, really? Well then, everything is fine. As Zeno would power down and not destroy Beerus. As he would then say, however, there is one slight problem, you see. As Deku would say, what is the problem then? As she would then explain how... And as Zeno would then explain how, because of attacking Deku, she would basically have disgraced her entire universe. As she would basically have disgraced her entire universe and would have to go into exile. As he would then say, and as Zeno would then say, so I will have to take away her powers and she'll just turn into ash. As Deku would say, wait, isn't my universe in your jurisdiction? As Zeno would say, yes. Well, yes. As then Deku would say, really? So, if I was to say, really? So if I was to say, since I technically do not count as a god of destruction, if I was to say want her in my universe as its god of destruction, would that be okay? As the Omni King would, basically, if he had any, raise an eyebrow. As he would then say, technically that would be allowed. As then Deku would say, then that is what I want. As Deku, and as Zeno would then say, alright then, you are no longer the goddess of destruction of Universe 7, you are now the goddess of destruction of Universe 14. Be great, as Zeno would, and as then Daishinkan would say, well, this has been definitely a drastic change of events since today. Hey, I only have one thing to say to Beerus. Even though it was by possibly the slimmest of odds, you should be thankful that the embodiment of destruction himself has ruled in your favor. As Beerus would then say, yes, yes, Grand Priest. As then, Whis would say, wow, what a drastic turn of events. So, I guess I will not be your attendant anymore, said Whis, as Beerus would then say, nope, it appears so. As then the Omni King would, as then Zeno would say, oh yeah, who should be her attendant? As Deku would then say, I will. As Zeno would say, alrighty then. Even though you do not count as an angel, you basically have the same status as me. So it's allowed. As pretty much a portal would open, as the two would basically be brought to the mortal realm, and would basically be brought to Universe 14. As time would be unfrozen, and it would look like all they did was blink. As well, Deku would then say, I allow you to live on planet Earth. However, I have one tiny rule. As Beerus would then say, yes. Yes, my lord. As he would then say, you have to hide at least 90% of your power. And you have to hide at least 90 to 95% of your power. As if anyone was to see what you truly were, they would be terrified of you. And would outcast you. And you'd be an outcast. Like I was. As Beerus would then say, fair enough, my lord. As he'd then say, also, you have to go to a place called UA with me. And she would say, of course, my lord. Now, they would be having this conversation basically through their minds, so no one could hear them. As Beerus would then say, as basically the Omni King would have rearranged everyone's minds to where no one saw Beerus fly down, and she would look like an average schoolgirl. Just a purple female cat schoolgirl. As her attire still will look like that, as that will be her hero outfit. Okay? Okay, I have to do that one at some point in my life. But I'm going to give him, the sexy transformation, the ability to create clothes out of thin air. Basically, you know how there's clouds covering, like how there's clouds or some sort of mist covering her. Basically, I'm going to have her be able to manipulate the clouds or mist to change it into clothes or any types of style of clothes anytime she wants. Understood? And it will be permanent. She will be stuck in this form permanently till the day she dies. Which, I don't know. But back to the what if. As pretty much it would look like Deku just finished with his part of the exams, and the ball would and Beerus basically, while time is still stopped, she would have thrown the ball all the way. She would basically have brought the ball to the moon. And the scorched ball to the moon, as they would think the ball only went to the moon. But of course she would have thrown it at the ground just so it looked like it actually made an impact. As they would then say, alright, Beerus's turn. Beerus Midoriya's turn. As, yeah, that shall be her last name in this wave, as that's what it is to mortals. Now everyone assumes that they are brothers and sisters because they both have cat-like, and they both look like cats. Wrong. That is, she's only taking that name because, well, you will see. Well, no, he would... Okay, yeah. As Beerus would grab the ball, and without any sort of destructive abilities or whatnot, she would throw it, and it would go 50,000 meters, just like Deku. As she would then basically throw the ball up, use a ki blast, and then fly up even higher and kick the ball, sort of like what Deku did. And it would hit them, and she would have toned her power down a bit, as it would hit the moon just a bit softer than she threw the ball down on the moon, as it would still be quite powerful. As Deku got first place, Beerus would get second. Now, the next day, now after that, pretty much Deku and Beerus, well, they have a little chat time with all the other students. As one thing I forgot to mention, because the female Beerusship, he is the only quirkless person, as, yeah. Sorry, this idea is non-existent now. Okay, so yeah, poof. It's like it didn't even exist. But back to this. As they would all be talking about, what their quirks is, what they were, and what their quote-unquote quirks is. They would be talking about, their whole lives. And they would be basically talking about their dreams, aspirations. Everyone would share their names, strengths, weaknesses, as Beerus and Deku would have had to make up weaknesses. Which, let me tell ya, if you're an immortal god, if you're an immortal deity of destruction, and a basically semi-immortal goddess of destruction, it would be very hard to say a weakness and to come up with just a weakness out of the blue. As school basically ends and the two walk over to they buy some dinner, and they're just eating, like, they're basically, they're eating 7 donuts, 3 sundaes, 12 two tuna fish sandwiches, 30 hamburgers, and 5 trays of prime rib. The reason why I say all of this and they're still not gonna get fat is, I mean, seriously. Have you even watched Dragon Ball Z? Seriously. In the anime, Beerus devours everything in his path. And anything that he wants. In fact, he almost destroyed the planet over pudding. So, yeah. Oof. As the two are still a little skinny, they're still in their normal figure when they're done eating, they pay the tab, and they go to Deku's house. As pretty much Beerus just sees is the ghost of a of a great of a 14 times of a 13 times grandpa, as pretty much Adrian is like a 12 times grandpa. But pretty much Adrian's spirit is in the afterlife, and we get Gabriel aggressed instead. As we see Gabriel, Deku's sister, and Deku's mother, as he basically, he brings Beerus into the house, and they all introduce themselves to her. As Beerus basically looks at Deku, thinking, what the crap do I do? Like, how do I introduce myself? As Deku then nods, like, just a straight up normal nod. I'd basically saying it's okay to reveal the truth about yourself if you want, of course. As the reason why is, well, he would have told everything about himself to them. So why not? That he was basically a god. So yeah. As she would say, my name is Beerus. I'm a goddess of destruction. I was originally from another universe. I came here thinking that a mortal threw a ball at me, when accidentally it was Izuku here. As she would explain to pretty much everyone, including Gabriel, what plague was. The core of all destruction. As Gabriel would be even more, or interested, as he would say, now this is just absolutely remarkable. I mean, seriously. Not only did he become basically a god, and not only did he basically become a god, but he's a god of gods. Whoa. Yeah. Now, eventually nighttime would near, as Deku and Beerus would they would get drunk on sake. And yes, they're in Japan, so sake is how it's pronounced. As they get drunk on sake, and, well, not sake, as pretty much Beerus would have shown Deku the actually good stuff. Like champagne, wine, alcohol, beer, all that stuff. Whiskey. As pretty much at night, Deku and Beerus would both be just a tiny bit drunk, as a thought would come up into Deku and Beerus's minds, as the two would then blush insanely, as Deku would then say, come upstairs. As the two would enter Deku's room, as Beerus would shove Deku on the bed, and basically she would take off she would begin unbuttoning her shirt, as then she would take off her shirt, take off her pants and underpants, and she would basically crawl up in front of Deku, as then she would cliffhanger no jutsu. Ha! You thought. You guys really thought. But, yeah. That's. See y'all next part. Ooh, you all just got. Ooh. Pervs. Freaking closet pervs. But yeah. You'll have to find out what happens in the next part of What If Naruto Was a Demi-Kwami. And yeah. Goodbye.